loved that kind of imagery of power, strength, being able to protect, being able to kind of be almost invincible, or the appearance of that anyway. It's always magical when you're a kid. And, you know, like most things when you're a child, these sort of things kind of, you tend to kind of outgrow them, but I never did. I actually started as an athlete when I was 7. So I was a gymnast in my earliest life. And then I sort of, I want to say, fell out of love with it. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but I kind of fell out of love with it around 16, because being a gymnast, although it was great and wonderful, and, you know, I got a lot of agility and mobility and all of that, and it was fun for a while, it kept me small and not big. And I kind of wanted to be big and imposing, because I never fell out of love with this whole superhero imagery. I then went into boxing for a short while. I didn't compete in that. That was always more about the conditioning for me. But then at the age of 20, I was like, you know what? I just want to get big. I want to live that dream of being big. Now, I'm going back 33 years, and 33 years ago, it was not easy to be a girl and to go into a gym that young and want to get big. It's not like how it is today. So, you know, that's kind of how it started. And then I went into the gym and took a whole load of grief from men at the time who were like, are you lost? You know, should you be here? Because I was in the weight section trying to get big. So that's kind of how it started. And I didn't listen, and I was passionate, and I stuck to it. I wanted to get big. I did get big. I loved that whole process. I fell in love with the process of the journey of getting big, of bodybuilding. And then I didn't identify as a bodybuilder day one. My day one was 20 years old. But at the time I was like, gosh, I really want to be a bodybuilder. I really want to be that thing. I really want to get to Olympia. I really want to compete. I really wanted all of those things. And let me tell you, it was hard back then. We didn't have, you know, it was harder for it to be accessible. We didn't have social media. We didn't have mobile phones in our hands. Like, you take that for granted in this day and age, which is great that it's accessible, but it wasn't back then. You had to subscribe to magazines. You had to really know about it and be interested in it to want to kind of pursue it. So I did pursue it. And then I started identifying as a bodybuilder kind of like 3 years in, if I'm honest. So it was about 23. I was a whole different shape and loving every minute. And I guess the rest was history. And I just went onwards and forwards and upwards from there. And today I am competing, and I'm multiple champion of many things and multiple British Pro card holder, and on my way to, I have my own further journey of attempting to turn IFBB Pro. Fingers crossed this year will be my year, and then my goals beyond that would be to qualify for the Masters Olympia, because obviously I am a Masters athlete now. And in short, there lies my journey. So in short, the answer is I always wanted to be a superhero, and the imagery of being a female bodybuilder was the epitome of that for me.
Well, what look at you want to be a superhero? I know some of my favorites some of my favorites go with Batman and Superman, and right, you know, those guys. You know, my favorite cartoon coming up on Saturday mornings was they still show it on the Super Friends. You know, I still watch it. I know like I said, in November I'm going to be 52 years old, and I can feel that. And,
welcome to the club.
I just like this. I was a baby, and I became a teenager, hit 30, and everything went down here straight from there. And what got me to bodybuilding was my older brother. He was. I would call my brother. I would call my older brother. I have an older brother named Carlton, but my big brother James. he used to be into lifting weights because he played American football here. Not
Right.
y'all got soccer, but they were here.
We've got
Yeah,
football.
no, it's here America. It's football here America. But he used to get the muscle mags, like fitness,
Yeah.
muscle fitness and flex. And
Right.
we were poor kids. We didn't have the heavyweights going around. We used to lift through like
Same.
logs and cinder blocks. And that really got me into the sport. And then when I got to my teenage years, something about y'all women just kind of twisted my mind a bit. It was something different. The combination of muscle and femininity. And I understand, it's tough to be a woman in a sport which is considered very male dominant.
Absolutely. And you're right there. And that's a very interesting point about the whole muscle and femininity, or the masculine / muscle and femininity kind of juxtaposition. I find that a very fascinating thing, particularly because of the category that I compete in, which is bikini. And just going back a little bit. So bikini, when I first started bodybuilding when I was 20, didn't exist, because it's 12 years old?
No, it's actually it's over. When it became more competitive, it's been around since I think 2006, maybe 2007.
Wow.
It's been almost 20 years.
So it was long after, I should say, I started. So when I started bodybuilding, it didn't exist. So it was, you either kind of got beautifully big, almost like the figure girls, which I must admit I adore and love. I love that shape, so beautiful. And I actually did get really big at one point, considering I was so young. And when bikini kind of came to our attention, as it were, I kind of loved that whole look of exactly that kind of muscle and femininity vibe. It was just so gorgeous, and really epitomized. Like, in my mind, it was like if I was in a burning building, heaven forfend, I would want the image of the most beautiful bikini, muscular, feminine superhero vibe walking through to rescue me. Like, it was, that is the image of like the beautiful bikini muscle / like almost like Wonder Woman and kind of thing. So carrying that whole vibe forward to now is really what I adore and love so passionately in perfecting, because I don't think there is another category. And this is my own humble opinion. You may or may not agree, but the bikini category for me is the absolute epitome of extreme sort of femininity with muscle, because I think there is no other category that requires you to have, quite a strong, a decent level of muscle in this day and age, but also the proportions you must have, i.e. the balance and the symmetry and that beautiful feminine form and sort of image. It is unlike any other category for me. I'm not trying to say that other female categories aren't feminine. They absolutely are, and they're beautiful, and I love them all. But there is something about what bikini stands for that, for me, is the absolute definition of muscle versus femininity, even in terms of balance and symmetry and ratios and proportions versus the look that we must have on stage, if that makes sense. So it is a very real thing that I adore working toward and with as part of my work as a bikini athlete, a masters bikini athlete.
Well, like I said, with that, I would say somewhat, I would agree with it a bit. It has a very feminine look to it. But again, if you go to it, if it wasn't for women's bodybuilding specifically, bikini would have existed, because
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the architect for all the other divisions, except for one division. I don't think it's really architect for it. It's called FitMod. It's a throwback, but again, If you think
It is
about it,
throwback, yeah.
yeah. But the problem
It's
is,
an entry level category as far as I'm
that's
concerned.
where I see it. I think it'd be better left in NPC as an issue, as a starter
Agreed.
novice category. It has
Right.
no place when it hits the pro level because after a while, those competitors are going to evolve. Just like look how weird body evolved. Look how physique has
Yeah.
evolved. Right now, they just saw that Tyler May made an announcement where they're gonna start putting new measurements for figure because the girls in figure. I just saw one lady who's been a 3-time Olympian in WPD did the Atlanta Pro in figure, and she just I'm a fan of her. I think she's a great physique, but it just didn't fit her because her
I
posing was kind of
see.
off.
Yes.
She last time she competed was last year in WPD, but jumping over to figure, if you don't have that great small taper, the roundness in
This
the
is the thing, it's
shoulder,
the ratios and the balance, isn't it? You've really just
yeah,
got to get that category nailed. Yeah,
yeah, because
I get it.
you're not gonna do as well if you don't have it. I think it's best for her maybe to focus on doing masters, in her division, or just step away and just think about retiring.
Sure. Absolutely. And you're just to speak of your point about fit model, respectfully, and I mean this respectfully, I am not trying to disrespect any category in our sport, but respectfully, it is an entry level category as far, it kind of specifically denotes no musculature, as it were. I mean, because at amateur level, if you're looking at it amateur level, i.e., before they turn pro, it kind of specifically states kind of no musculature. So for me, as a bodybuilder in an industry that is about muscle, I struggle with not the category, but I respectfully do, and this is my own humble opinion, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I do struggle with how an entry level category is pro. I struggle with that. Like that is an entire contradiction in term, I think. But I think there is a place for it because respectfully, I don't think that a lot of these beautiful girls that are in fit model who are genetically born this wonderful, gorgeous shape are not matured yet enough in terms of their musculature to be bikini athletes. Like they have a way to go, which is why there certainly is a place for the category, but it is entry level. And I agree with you, it is an NPC category for sure. I just don't understand. I do struggle with, I have to say, with it. Like, how do you turn an entry level candidate to a pro? Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just my own thought.
I'm going to be disrespectful because you know what? I'm the particular heck of villain. And just, I have nothing against the competitors. I interviewed a couple of ladies
No, quite right.
that model. I have nothing against, but I understand the purpose of it is because maybe bring more attention. Also, one
Sure.
thing, bring in money. But again, if you get to the pro level and when you're seeing girls from the bikini level want to get back going down into that division, it reformats. It happened to women's bodybuilding when they were getting pushed
Agreed.
out.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
and when physique competitors would go, when bodybuilders was going down to physique, right now, I'm seeing right now just saw one lady who just made her women's bodybuilding debut this weekend. She looked really good. She's got to really work on the size. And again, it go back to the judging because you feel like if the girls in bikini are getting styrish in the glutes, the girls getting a lot more fuller, then cap it off. Try to control it. Don't bring in something that's just going to be another problem that you have to worry about solving. So anyway,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I think it actually probably started, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I understand the thought process behind it. I really, really do. I get that there probably it's gotten like bikini's gotten to a point where, I mean, it's tremendously muscular. I mean, it's my category and I love it with all of my heart. And these women are absolutely mind blowing to me. Like these high level bikini athletes are both masters and the under 35s at Olympia level and pro level are absolutely stunning. The level of musculature they have, their proportions are magnificent and wildly different to how, you know, it used to look when it first came in. So I kind of understand the thought process of having that entry level category. I get it, but it is an entry level category. That's my, you know, that's my point, basically.
Well, being me, it offends my senses when it existed, but I'm just gonna be like I'm saying. I just again, I'm not a competitor. I'm an outsider. So, for you, what really, you know, for your thoughts on the sport and anything else? So, is one thing I I mentioned that you have a show coming up, which you're promoting.
Yes,
and,
yes, I have my own show. Yes, it is called the So Pro Night of Champions, and it is the 19th of September in a part of the United Kingdom called Wolverhampton, which is sort of the north of England, or more like the Midlands, so the middle of the country. It is sort of shaping up to be a really big show. I always wanted it to be very big, very exciting, full of new experiences for the athletes. Because in all honesty, I find that as a competitor myself, I'm still deemed an amateur competitor because I haven't turned IFBB pro. It doesn't matter if I've got pro cards in the United Kingdom because that is not the, you know, the IFBB. So I am an amateur athlete and I have free reign to compete wherever I want until such time that I turn IFBB. Now, with that said, I find that the scene is respectfully starting to become a little bit stagnant in terms of the offerings that athletes have. And I sense, and I happen to know because I have contact with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of athletes a week, that is how the industry feels and the athletes feel. So with that in mind, I wanted to introduce, and I have the pleasure of working with the IBFA, that is pioneered and owned by Matthew Ali, who is the CEO of the IBFA, who I adore and work very closely with. And I have he just presented me the opportunity of, Sibel, have your own show. And I'm like, oh my God. He goes, free reign, do your thing. So I get to do whatever I want. And I've honestly, George, I have gone wild. I mean, I have multiple production teams. I'm focusing on giving maximum spotlight to the athletes. I can say all of this and because I am one myself. And so I know what it feels like, both sides. So I'll have a dedicated production team backstage, interviewing the athletes, interviewing the champions that come off stage. As you may or may not know, as apart from the work I do in terms of athletes in general, in the industry in general, I also do a huge amount of work pioneering masters athletes as a sector, and another huge amount of work pioneering the disabled athletes in the disability sector. So I will be offering a stage to disabled athletes, a huge, wonderful stage and an area and a spotlight. We want to hear their stories. We want to talk to them. We want to give them everything that they need. And I will be doing all of that without divulging too much. And I have a lot planned. I will be filming with drones. I will have halftime acts. I will do everything that has never been done before, not just to give the best experience to the athletes who work exceptionally hard to achieve the physiques they achieve. And I have so much undying gratitude for them picking my stage to stand on to present those physiques. I want to give them the experience that they deserve, the attention that they deserve, but also to the audience who have made their way to support their loved ones, their friends, and just to watch the show. They're going to get one. My halftime act is unlike any other. And I might have two. I'm still working on it. But I've got multiple. I'm also, in terms of the athletes, I have about over 20, I think maybe 29, maybe 28 categories. And I'm almost all the way there to having every single category sponsored. So I want the athletes to understand that they're not just winning a trophy, they're not just winning a medal. It's not just that. They're also going to get from the sponsor of said category something, you know, whether that is cash prize, whether that is goodies, whatever, whoever, depends on who the sponsor is. But every category will be sponsored. I have stands and stands and stands from brand sponsors at the event. It's almost shaping up to be like a mini expo, which is wonderful because I'm so grateful to all of my brand sponsor friends. And I mean everything from clothing lines to gyms to blood work laboratories. You can get, athletes can come and get their blood work done by the finest blood work laboratory in the UK. I'm having everything on hand. I have a posing clinic with a dedicated posing coach backstage for like a little 5-minute preps before any nerves for any of our new timers, you know, coming on stage. They'll get posing clinics. My disabled athletes have dedicated posing coaches for disabled athletes, because for those that may not have necessarily thought about this, you know, if I have many athletes who are amputees, whether they have one arm, one leg, or so on and so forth, posing is not the same, obviously. So I have dedicated posing coaches that are trained to pose out our disabled athletes, to give them absolutely everything they need. They'll have their own dedicated area. They'll have the able-bodied will have their own area. So they'll all have what they need. I will offer designated a proper pumping zone, pre-pump foods, everything they could ever want will be provided. And that's the kind of environment as an athlete I want. So that is what I will give them. And so I'm very excited and thankful to everyone thus far, and for those athletes that are contacting me in droves to be a part of the show. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying this. One person is I'm a fan of, and he's the guy who say with his body business, Jake Wood. Yo, Jake! I want that money. I want that gun. I can't help it every time I say his name. But I think he needs to hire you for the Olympia. You know, I mean, Dan Solomon, I think it's time for you to move on, brother. I think you maybe, as you know, they're talking about maybe getting a new president for the IFBB,
Sure.
you know, professional. And I think, you know, because, you know, it's possibly that.
There is a lot of talk about that, isn't there, at the moment?
Yeah, there was a debate between Jake or Arnold. No, neither one of them. I think maybe Dan be better, but my problem with Dan is he's not a big fan of his bodybuilding, from what I've heard. But you know, I think he understands semantics like that. But hey, if Jake needs a new person to promote the Olympia, I think he'd be a good person. But
I would love that opportunity, to be honest. And actually, it's funny because I want to, obviously, please God, we will, us high levels, we want to turn IFBB. When that time comes, I really do hope that I have opportunities presented to me to be able to do what I do best for the IFBB or for the NPC, because I think that it's time. I agree. It's time. Mm-hmm. You know, we need more. We need change.
Yeah, the problem is it's change has to come for the athletes. And the thing is, this is from an old school wrestler I remember watching when I was a kid. His name was the redneck Captain Dick Murdoch. But the problem is, a lot of these bodybuilders are a bunch of yellow-bellied, egg-sucking dogs. They're too afraid to. That's the truth of it. They like everything as it was or as it is, but yes, not afraid to. No one wants to take that risk, like, you know, to step out there.
That's it. I mean, I think it's easier, like, to leave things as it is. It's easier. So they just leave things as it is. And I think, although the reality is everybody wants the change. If there isn't a single athlete that comes my way that doesn't get beyond excited, like absolutely screaming with excitement at everything that I'm about to present. Everybody wants it. No one's prepared to do it. That's the difference. I am prepared to do it. This has been my sport, my love for 30 years. I'm all about giving back, even if it means, by the way, I self-fund everything, George. Like, I'm not, everything is done from the goodness of my heart, Like everything I do. So it's not like I'm granted or I have a grant or a government fund or something. No. And I'm not in this for, sadly, I'm not in this for the money. I mean, I say sadly because this isn't really the industry. This industry doesn't have money to give. It's not like American football or British soccer. I mean, you're talking about athletes that are earning hundreds of millions a year. This doesn't exist in bodybuilding, and certainly doesn't exist at all at amateur level. So, but that doesn't mean to say that the athletes at amateur level aren't exceptionally high standards. I mean, my God, they are. There are some amateur level athletes in the United Kingdom and Europe, and I must say, I'm having athletes fly in from other parts of Europe to stand on my stage, and some of them are disabled. Now, I am honored and privileged for that, because that's quite an undertaking to fly in from another country to stand on another stage. I'm very respectful of that. These athletes are, some of them, George, are absolutely sensational. To not respect them as an industry and only focus respectfully on the IFBB pros, who get all the attention in the world, and they should. They're pro athletes. We must respect our pros. They are all exceptional. But that doesn't mean to say that the amateur athletes should be entirely ignored. And we've got a wonderful up and coming bodybuilding media channel here called Front Double. And I do a lot of work with them, and they cover me quite a bit because of the projects I'm working on and the things I do to give back. And they cover actually all British bodybuilding. This is the kind of coverage and company, and more of this, please, media industry, is what we need for the amateur leagues, because these athletes are sensational. And how are they ever going to get sort of the spotlight they deserve, or the industry gets the spotlight it deserves at that level, and progress onwards and upwards, if we don't, as those of us in certain positions, if we don't all contribute to that? That's my thought. So if I just was one of those people that sort of just sat there and thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if this happened and that happened, or there was a stage where I'm like, and then just went, meh, and then never did anything about it. But that's not who I am. And that's certainly not what I believe in. Much like Eunice, but our dear friend, who has the exact same love and thought process in terms of making this sport great again. And I said this recently, and I think it was with both Front Double interviews and with Sarah Parker's Beyond Condition, that, I sit here today and we're talking about making this sport great again. But why again? Why did it ever stop, being great, or losing its way, or getting diluted? We must uphold standards.
Where it goes back like this, especially the mainstream, they don't take bodybuilding as seriously as a sport. To them, it's more like a pageant. And then also, one thing about bodybuilding is always going to be the use of performance enhancers. I mean, everybody looks at it because you get these big muscles and you just take some pageant pills and stuff like that. You get big, but they don't understand the training, the consistency that's involved in building that muscle. Like, it's a different level we look at from bikini to women's bodybuilding. The training is different, but it's still the same consistency. And then what you do, put up the money, and you have a big heart, but in some cases that's an enlarged heart. That's what I have, and yeah, I have a pacemaker, so I got to do that. But that's something that's really good that you contributed. And are there any sponsors, or like, what's the whole semantics? Because I know you can't go too much details of it, but what's the whole semantics behind it? Like, the sponsorship and everything like that involved.
So in terms of the brand sponsors that I have on board, how that works is, simply put, so let's start with, because there's two types. There's the sponsors for the categories, and then there's the sponsors for where they come in. For example, let's say if Eunice was in the UK and Bad Rap was coming in as a sponsor stand, they would take a stand and they would be present and display their their items, whatever it is they're
Merchandise
selling, whether it
goods.
is clothing, whether it is supplements, whatever, and then they'd be available and sell to the athletes. Now, that's so that I can enable to benefit and promote those brands. I get nothing from that. It is about brand promotion. So I am of the belief that, if we don't support each other and we don't give our British born or European born or US born small businesses who have got something to say, something to give, the support that they need, then what the hell are we doing here? Quite honestly, what are we doing here? I've got all of these brands. Every single one of them are coming in to set up a stand and to be part of my show so that they can support my show by giving athletes and the audience their goods and their wares. And I will support and promote them so that I can enable them and kind of support their business. I get nothing from that at all. Like they pay a nominal amount, and I mean a very nominal amount, to have the stand, which goes towards administrative expenses for the venue, the end. And as for the sponsoring the categories, if a brand pays to sponsor a category, that money goes to the winning athlete of that category. It does not come to me. It is for the category, for the athlete. And if they are not paying, then they give like goodie bags or a gift basket, or depending on what, if they're a supplement company, they might give a gift basket of supplements to the winner, or if they're clothing, they may give hoodies, if they're, that sort of thing. And it's about kind of the community of support, to create a environment, a show, a community of support that not only supports small businesses and businesses, but also gives the athletes what they need and access to certain services, businesses, supplements, products that they may not otherwise have necessarily had. For example, having blood work laboratory there, a lot of that, how important is that for us, assisted or otherwise? I mean, mainly for the assisted, but to be able to have that done on the spot, for some just really isn't that necessarily that accessible. I want to make everything accessible, and this is how I'm doing that. And also, outside of the brand sponsors, just having the production teams on hand to give spotlight to every single one of these athletes, I think is something very personal that every athlete respects and appreciates, and also a lot of them have never had the experience of. Because I think a lot of athletes do just sometimes feel like a number. The bigger the show, the bigger the federation. It's like, you're all a number, you're literally all a number, and then you come on and then you go off, and then there's one winner, and it's like no one else matters kind of thing. I don't want that to be the case with my show. Everyone is respected. Everyone's journey is respected. Everyone has worked hard. Everyone has done a prep. Everyone wants it as much as the next person. And I want to make sure, even though there is only one winner, we know this, per category, for example, that doesn't mean that every other athlete isn't equally as respected or equally in the spotlight or going to be totally ignored. Now, I'm not saying that other federations do that, and I'm mindful of what I'm saying here, but I'm speaking broad spectrum, and I'm also speaking as an athlete myself. I'm also speaking of a promoter that wants to create something slightly different and an experience that is unlike any other. And my bigger hope would be that not only have I hopefully achieved everything I want to achieve for my audience, for my athletes, my brand sponsors, but also that I might infect any other federation watching, maybe infect them with my enthusiasm towards making things different and great, but also to maybe just inspire others, other promoters, others to do more, to push and do more, to give back. I don't care if they take, if they're all welcome at my show. I don't care if they take my ideas, just bloody do it. do it and give the athlete and the industry what it needs in abundance. Because I think it's time, George. It's time.
It's tough for infections. You just got out of the pandemic. I don't want no more infections. Yeah, I gotta be careful. We have a comment here. Shout out to him. I guess I gotta put my old man glasses on for a second. He says this is from my man here, Tom Henry. He says these athletes are amazing. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that. Yeah, because as you know, doing this content for a while, I get to learn things. Like one thing is also the sanction fees to pay for each division of class. The cost of promotion. One thing a friend of mine said is that some of these bodybuilders should do more advertising for when you do the shows. So like go on to a radio show. You don't have to be a bodybuilder podcast. It could be just a podcast with someone like who do sports. I mean, I think it just needs bodybuilding really needs a kick of mainstream interest in it. Because I remember back in the day, you used to go watch it on television. You used to come on like local, NBC, ABC, ESPN used to carry it. Fox Sports used to carry it.
Yeah, you had that in the US. We actually never had that in the UK.
Yeah. But now you don't really see it anymore. You have to be like yesterday I watched pay-per-view for the Atlanta Pro. I was rooting for the ladies. I gotta say, it may not be the 80s, but I'm down with the ladies. And,
I wouldn't have it any other way, George.
Yeah, because there's one point they had the men's, as I call them, the board shorts, and and they had them, so I had to wait through them to get to the women's bodybuilding. But I respect those guys. I had a couple of guys out here who could be that divisions. But that's the thing is that the people have to be wanting and willing to step up and to maybe give shows like that opportunity. And also with people with disabilities, I've seen people who have Bell palsy or who had severe disabilities who still take the time in and train. And you have people talking about saying like, hey, you gotta do this. But these people have disability. This is a video. I think I'll find it. I sent it to you. This young man, he had these both. He's like, been a boy, and he's like I think he's 20s, 19 now, and he's just in great shape. He looks like somebody you really would love to have compete at your show. If I find a video,
I would be delighted. I'd be delighted. I have some I will send you some pictures of some of my incredible disabled athletes that I have contact with that will be competing at my show. I mean, I am in awe, in absolute. My heart is so full, and they just inspire me every single day. And I recently said this, but I said I literally say I do not know how any able-bodied person has the temerity to complain about anything when these athletes, they don't complain. They're in the gym. Whether they are in a wheelchair, whatever, they are beyond inspirational to me. I mean, the work they put in is by far greater than any work an able-bodied athlete puts in. And another thing I would really like to put out there for those that maybe aren't aware, and I don't blame people for not being aware, because there just isn't the education or the information, which is another thing I'm working on changing, is that every time a disabled athlete, regardless of their disability, largely if it is a visual disability, because I will do visual, seen and unseen disabilities.
Opportunities to athletes who are disabled or athletes who are mature, because quite a few of my interviews, I've interviewed a lady herself who's 62 years, she just turned 62 just last month, Dr. Danielle Mitzi, and she competes in bikini herself. It's easy for her because it shows her for the States because the Masters are really blowing up. And the mature competitors, I had an interview set with a young lady. She's 24. I was supposed to have an interview with her earlier last week, but then we were contact for a good bit, but then I don't know what happened. I mean, that's why I think I enjoy getting the opportunity when I talk to the mature competitors, because y'all set a time, y'all regimental, y'all don't play. We can talk about stuff, and you'll be easily offended if I say something like say you have a nice rack, madam. But thank you, George. Yeah. Hey man, I'm a Southern gentleman, man. It is my nature to tell a woman she's beautiful. It's my nature.
Thank you.
But yeah, what you're doing is pretty good. So folks, while we got it back, we got it here. We'll do this. We're going to jump into social media for a little bit. If you want to follow Sibel, her links are in the description of this live. you want to check her out. If you're someone interested, maybe if you're a competitor, you want to take part in her, especially if you start as a bodybuilder and you want maybe organization you want to start out with, because you know what, everybody has a beginning. Reach out to a genuine interest, but guys. I do this as a one, guys. She's a lovely lady. She has a nice smile, you know. She's very, and I don't, the bikini girls. I really, spot my interest a little bit. I like the girls.
I
with
mean,
big
we are
muscles.
special. Let's face
yeah,
it.
special, yeah. But guys out there, don't be that weird guy. Don't send like, I'd say, hey, Steve, I saw your last interview and I saw those pictures and I click. No, stop that, you sick freak. Have some,
Yeah.
have some common sense.
Don't do it, guys. Don't
do it. Don't do it. You're gonna have two faces. You're gonna have the guys who say, "Wow, she got some nice muscles." I like it. And the guy says, "She's too buff. She's a man." And what the hell? What do you see, man? It gets me because I post something.
I know.
I post something a while back. It's from this guy. He goes by 4 weeks to the beach. And he posted about how guys talk about women in bodybuilding and with muscle. And you know what? Again, when I hear guys make comments like "that's a man," yeah. Where do you see anything? I'm a man. I got bigger boobs than some women in bodybuilding. So where do you see anything manly about this woman or any other woman that does this sport?
Exactly.
Sometimes in some cases.
You know what? Sometimes I think it comes from a place of their own insecurity. Just because they're not happy as men, whatever that image is in their mind, just because they're perhaps not happy with how they look, or they might be presented with a woman who is muscular and has more about her than he does, then all of a sudden she's a man. It's just projection, and it's sad. And it's really sad. If they took all of that energy and put it on themselves, as opposed to trying to belittle someone else because they feel little themselves, then maybe they'd be in a better place. But none of us women, guys out there, excuse my French, give a shit about that type of opinion. We don't care. We have worked too fucking hard, excuse my French again, too hard for decades as female bodybuilders to care an iota about what a small-minded individual has got to say about what we've achieved. Focus on yourselves, leave us alone. We focus on ourselves. Bodybuilding as a sport, as a discipline, teaches us one thing above all else, apart from the obvious, teaches us to work on ourselves with purpose, on purpose. It is bodybuilding, and we work hard every single day to build our physiques to the levels, the dizzy heights that we as an individual wish to take it. It teaches us individually to work on ourselves. I don't go to the gym, get up at 4 a.m., go to the gym and train hard to work to build someone else's physique. I work to build my physique, to work on myself, head down, stay in my lane, focus on myself with consistency and discipline. What the hell has that got to do with anyone else?
Yeah, that's the problem. But you know what? Here's the thing, guys. If you don't like something, here's the advice. Don't say nothing. Mind your own business. Go do things.
Shut it.
We got here a comment. This is from a gentleman here. His name is Sean Stanford. He's laughing, rolling emojis. Appreciate that, brother. So again, we're gonna jump into Sibel's. Also, I think he has another comment. He says like this. He says, yeah, that's true, and hard work. Yeah, it's hard work. Yes, not everybody like the great Roddy Koopman said that everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but they want to lift this heavy ass weight. So we're gonna jump into it.
Yeah, everyone wants to respectfully, everyone wants to look like us, but nobody wants to do the work to get like that. Like it's all well and good. There's a lot of this. There's not enough action. Less talk, more work. Shut the fuck up and work. The end.
Yeah,
don't bitch.
Yeah, it reminds me what my favorite comedian says. Paul Mooney says, like, everybody want to be an N-word, but no one wants to be an N-word. Like, everybody wants to be black, but don't want to be the responsibility of what it takes to be black.
Absolute nonsense. Like, there's a lot of talk in every area of any sport. There's a lot of talk, but isn't it funny how those that do a lot of this are the biggest non-achievers on the planet? Achieve something. Shut up and achieve something. Less of this, more work. Work
Yeah.
hard and keep your mouth shut. It's no one cares.
Yeah.
Absolutely no
So,
one cares.
like I say, we're going to jump into social media for a bit here. We're in her IG. If you want to follow her, the link's in the description of this live. And again, this is one thing I like. She promoted this upcoming interview. This is right here, and she took my my avatar there. That's my avatar on my YouTube. And there's I want that Joker in the corner. I like that. I want to have that. That'd be a new avatar. I can put it to my IG.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I like that. And you took the crowds. You're getting this color. I like this. I like when someone step up and do something like this because I know, ladies, you're busy. You got this. You're prepping like that. You got life, but it will take maybe a few hours, maybe just a few minutes out of your time to do something like this. And also, she competed last year at the European Championships and European. Okay, you were Masters. I know a couple of ladies that competed there. Euromasters. I know a couple of ladies competed there. What's that experience? Because this is in Milan, Italy. What's that experience like for you?
It is in Milan, Italy. Yes, that was that was actually my second time. That's a pro qualifier actually, dedicated for masters. As you said, in Milan, Italy, and it is a magnificent experience, and it is absolutely my favorite show. Run by the promoter Barbara, and I've got to tell you, George, there was circa 2,200 athletes that weekend. Bikini competes on a Sunday. I usually arrive on a Thursday, allowing myself just some downtime before the weekend, and athlete registration and so on. It is a fantastic, magnificent, awe-inspiring show and stage. They care so much. I always have an incredible treatment from all of the staff there, and Barbara's team, just fantastic. And honestly, to one day achieve, hopefully this year, I will be there in November, to achieve my pro card on Barbara's stage. Frankly, having gone to Milan and watched the shows years before I stepped on her stage, or certainly before I thought I was good enough to step on her stage, to turn pro on her stage would be a true, real dream and an honor for me.
Mm-hmm. So what was the critique from the last show we were there last year?
My feedback was to bring up my glute. So, I mean, I don't know any bikini athlete that never hears more glute, but yes, I needed to have more projection and a little more to the top, the shelf of my glute, really, and sort of fill out a little bit more, be a bit more fuller in the glute area. But other than that, I placed second actually in Europe, so I did extremely well. I was absolutely honored with that. So this year I hope to place first and go in. I'm absolutely significant. That is how I look now. I am significantly different to how I looked last year, November, and I'm so proud of the improvements and the growth I have made in line with my judges' feedback. The judges were incredible. I spoke to them all. They all said my package was wonderful. Oh, that's an anime made by one of my most favorite followers. And I adore them when they do things like this for me. It's so nice. But yeah, it was about sort of just generally being this year for me to bring something unseen before, bigger, more defined, more conditioned, more fuller, more alive, as that is also a week ago, that picture there. Just more, just more. And I think that I have definitely done that, and I am so proud of the work that I have done, and I'm really excited to start my season, which starts in September, and I just can't wait to get on stage and demonstrate my new package and eventually get myself to the Milan stage again in November and really go for gold for my pro card.
Yeah. So who's your coach? Who are you working with? Oh, wait a minute, folks. I gotta check. I think we might be having problems again. I think we might be having some technical difficulties again, folks. Hello? Oh, yeah, again. Well, folks, we're having, again, technical difficulties. This is going to be one of those interviews. We're going to have that quite often. I'm going to suggest to her to switch to her cell phone because, whatever it is, I think, you need to switch yourself. Hello? Hello? Send a message to her. Give me a sec, folks. So, folks, while she get the message, let me look at these comments I got here. Shout out to my man Jeff come through. Hey, Jeff, he says, good Sibel, love your sense of humor, and the nails, you should have a talk show like George. Yeah, all right. I think she does a little stuff. I think she's busy right now, so she probably eventually do it. True, there is a lot of talk, achieve things. Yeah, Jeff, sometimes you need to work on your spelling. So, folks, what I'm going to do, we'll go back into our social media for a bit, and we'll run a video where she's doing some talking. Here, she has amazing body, I would say. I think one of the pictures what got me into her was when Eunice sent me, I believe it was, this picture right here that Eunice sent me. That said me say, what do you think? And I think, wow, she has a lovely body. What she does figures? Say, no, she's bikini. I say, what? I mean, the muscularity, she has great abs, look at the shoulder. I mean, there's a debate, so she maybe think about switching divisions eventually. But she did do, she did an interview with a lady I've been talking to, but she just popped back in. Give me a second, folks. And she just popped back in. There she is. So we're gonna come back. And here you go. Yeah. Again, folks, this is the thing about live. Things happen and it's fun. But as I was talking earlier,
it's fun. It just puts the fun in everything.
Yeah. But anyways, ask you, who's your coach? Who are you working with?
Yes, my coach is incredible. As far as I'm concerned, the best in Europe, actually. My team is Team MHD. My coach's name is Mauro Colelho. He is an IFBB pro himself. He's currently in the US competing. He's just done the Miami Pro, the Chicago Pro, and is at the Atlanta as we speak. We have some team members there. So he's an incredible coach and singularly responsible for, as far as I'm concerned, turning me into the dream, the dream physique I've ever wanted as a bikini athlete. We work so incredibly well together. He understands me as an athlete. He understands a master's athlete and physique. He understands what the criteria requires, what I must look like, what it requires. And that's the wild difference between the coach that I had last year, which was a different coach. Now, I'm not in the business of defamating or speaking badly of anyone in this industry. It's really not my style. But unfortunately, the coaching style last year, with the coach I was with then, it just didn't. It just didn't really end well, because by the time I had gotten to Milan, I had experienced a great deal of atrophy in my glute, which was because I was badly managed, for want of a better description. And the significance of understanding what a master's athlete and what an individual athlete requires is critical when it comes to coaching. Unfortunately, not every coach is capable of managing a high-level athlete, and certainly not a high-level master's athlete. We are not the same as 20-year-olds. when you're talking about denseness, you know, dense muscle. I mean, you've only got to look at me right now as I'm speaking to you, how dense my muscle is as a bikini athlete, just in the image that you can see right now. So not to be able to hone that dense muscle in correctly is critical, because I can end up losing it. And high level athletes, George, we do what our coaches tell us to do. We do what we're told. We don't deviate from that. That is our job as an athlete. Our coach is the boss. We are the athlete. We entrust our career in their hands. So if an athlete does not look their best, you can look at toward the coach for that, as far as I'm concerned, when I speak of myself. Now, I'm not saying every athlete's like me, but, you know, that's the principle of the thing.
Here I said that's a good point. But also sometimes your coach can get too involved in your personal life. Like sometimes it's good that his part is to help you train your body, but anything else, that's on you. Like,
Absolutely correct.
I remember I talked to one young lady. I was, hey, you want to do an interview? She told me, let me talk to my coach. This is not about him. This is about you. I want to talk to you. We'll mention him. We'll talk about him, you know, but other than that, it's about you. And then I remember one athlete said, well, why did you do the show? This could be said, no, my coach won't do this show. Okay, I understand that, but this show could maybe, one thing is if you win, you don't have to worry about paying the entry fee to when you do a national qualifier. You know, sometimes it's best because some competitors will say, you know what, they take their coach of advisement, but then anything else they had to do is on them. The training, everything else, that's their job. But when you get too much, because I did a conversation where we have situations where coaches can get very intimate and physical with their clients. You know, it happens here. I know one lady, she's dating her coach. You know, and you know. That's the thing is they've been in a relationship. That's cool. That's understandable. But in some cases, some coaches can be predatory.
Inappropriate. Yeah, absolutely. And now that, guys, if anyone out there is in a situation like that and thinks that it is normal for a coach to be inappropriate or sexual or advance themselves, that is absolutely unacceptable. Now, I understand that everyone's an adult here, but also, you know, let's put it this way, and I'm going to be blunt about this. First of all, I have never, ever been in that situation, and I'm thankful and grateful. But let me tell you, George, as a master's, as a grown woman, if a man did that to me as a coach, let me tell you, it would be the last thing that they did. Not sorry. But now, if I was a 20-year-old and inexperienced and naive and didn't know any better and had great aspirations and wild aspirations of like achieving my greatness and all of that, if a coach was predatory, and they do exist, and saw that this was a young, beautiful, inexperienced, naive girl, and thought that the way he could fill his boots, for want of a better description, was to kind of romance her into, oh, trust me, I'll get you there, but you know, I need you to send me nude check-in pictures. If you're getting asked to send your check-in pictures nude, which does happen sometimes, George, call the police. Call the police and sack that coach. That is unacceptable. There is no world where a prep coach would ever ask their athlete to send nude pictures, ever. That does go on. And if there's anyone listening out there that feels a little uncomfortable with a scenario, leave. If you're being asked to do anything inappropriate, leave. If you are not achieving equally the results you want to achieve, leave. You are paying your coach. They are paid. They are working for you to get you to your destination, whatever that goal may be. Now, that doesn't mean you get to demand and tell them what to do. They're your coach. You know, you're hiring them to do what they do best so that you can do what you do best as an athlete. My coach is the best thing that has ever happened to me as an athlete. I could not be happier. I have never been happier as an athlete. He is a consummate professional. My check-ins are timely. He's always available if I have questions. Now, the higher level the athlete, the less maintenance they are. I mean, you know, we know what we're doing kind of thing. So, you know, when my coach is always available if I ever have a question or a thought process. would he ever stop me from doing a show I wanted or doing an interview? Absolutely not. His role as my coach is to manage my physique out as an athlete, watch my well-being as an athlete, and make my dreams come true, realize my goals. My coach lives and breathes my goals and my dreams with me. That is how he works his butt off, basically, with me so that I can achieve my greatness. That's what a true pro coach is about.
A bikini competitor. She's an amateur herself, just like her. And this interview you did some time ago.
And they're not. Yes, it is fair. Because what you decided to do in your life has no bearing on what I decided to do in mine, or what she decided to do in hers, or what he decided to do in his. You decided to take a path in life, and then the latter part of your life is when you decided to go to the gym, explore fitness, perhaps then decide to go down the avenue of being a master's bodybuilder, however long that may take you. That's on you. It is not something that a seasoned athlete who's given their life and soul for the God knows how many decades, it's not for them to be penalized because you decided to come on stage the latter part of your life. Now, I'm going to park the masters for a minute, and let's assume that you asked me that question for an under 35. What would be the difference?
On the fire in a silk suit.
I watched that interview with you and Sarah last week. As you know, Sarah's a great person. I mean, I was hoping to have her on, do a little interview while she was here in the States, but she was busy. As you know, she was in Tampa last weekend, because it was supporting a lady who's been a guest on my channel, and Anastasia Ryder, as you know, she was the person who started the GoFundMe to have women's bodybuilding at the Tampa this year. Anastasia, Romana were there, Sarah, it was great. Yeah, I mean, Romana, she's getting married, to her man Dan. Yeah, I'll tell you, we get married, be like, I'm married now, because it does be exciting. She's a beautiful person too. Again,
she really is beautiful.
All you women are beautiful, not just external, but internal. Because conversations we have with y'all ladies, sometimes there's some ladies that we talk on the phone, we talk about things. They, some ladies who are really cool with me, where like we talked about earlier about the progressive pictures. I know a couple ladies who send me the progressive pictures and get my opinion. And I pick out and say, how dare you send these pictures to me? I am a must have heard smell. Y'all ladies excite me, y'all buff bodies. I can't help myself.
There he is again.
Yeah, I can't help it. Help it. But I'm professional. I tell them why I see it, get a critique. Because doing this, I learned a lot from the conversations and things. And again, I admit my crime, Miss Osman. I must have smell. Y'all ladies do excite me, but I do learn something from y'all. We got a comment. Shout out to my man Jeff. He's, I appreciate him coming through. Great kid. He lives in my home city, North Carolina. Says, George, I'm looking forward to the Muscle Monday. I may be going to be a bodybuilder. All the best to you, brother. But
exciting.
Yeah, exciting. He's a good dude. He has a little bit of a she's like psychical disability, but it's pretty good. Yeah. So,
that's nice.
For you, is there anybody particular that you follow, you pay attention to, that you admire their work ethic, overall physique, especially be it in the men's division, women's division, NBC, IFB, whatever? Who do you really pay attention to?
That's a really good question. That's a great question, because I don't know that there is any one individual that I necessarily, kind of follow over another, because there are so many, George, that I follow just in awe, like, and a lot of them are, I cannot choose a pro. I think they're all just fabulous. And they all bring something extremely different to the table. But even with the amateur athletes that are currently really high level at the moment, that are really close to getting they're realizing their dreams and getting their pro cards. There's just so many, and I adore them all. I really am. With me, I've never been the one that just thinks, oh, just this one and none of the other. These athletes are incredible. And what is so wonderful for me anyway about the sport and about all of these athletes is how eclectically different each and every one of these athletes are, and their physiques are just the nuances and the differences in their physiques to me are all just as magnificent and beautiful as the other. I cannot choose. I cannot. I watch them all. I comment and follow all. I'm known actually for how supportive I am in the industry, because I genuinely am. I'm so excited for every single one of them. This world is big enough and this sport is big enough for all of us. There's no need to be like, narrow-minded and unsupportive. What someone else's achievements and greatness has no bearing on yours. So just be supportive and be supportive of all. And what is wonderful, actually, doubly wonderful for anyone who is aspiring to either be a bodybuilder or has just started out or thinks that not winning means you're losing. Wrong. So note all of these bodybuilders are just so different in what they bring. And isn't that so beautiful? Isn't that so inspiring that you don't need to be this or that? You can be any of those things and still be successful and wonderful and a human work of art. This is not a cookie cutter sport. We are all individual athletes and we all have individual physiques and levels. And the beauty of the sport and the beauty of being a progressive athlete, because it is a progressive sport, is how we grow. So how could you not follow each and every athlete's journey and progressively see how they've grown? There are just so many that I love, adore, and respect. I wouldn't even know where to begin to chant their names, but I post them or I talk about them or I work with them regularly on my page so you can kind of follow and see. But honestly, George, all of them is the answer to that question. All of them. I love them all. I watch them all, and I'm rooting for every single one of them as much as I root for myself. I adore them all.
Yeah, there's so many ladies I've become like, particularly these ladies here. This is a lady's dear friend of mine, Tina S. Williams, and
Beautiful.
that's her with Melody Specco. Melody Specco competed back in the day. Melody's been going through some stuff right now. Shout out to Melody. That's her coach and a friend to Tina. Tina's an amazing lady. She's a mother, wife. She's a competitive bodybuilder. She has a beautiful body. I would tell you. I always talk about Tina. I mean, she's a great person. Can't forget our dear friend Eunice. Eunice is going to be 61 in about a month or so. She's a great person. What she's doing, her and Jolene doing, really fighting for. This is when I was in Tampa last year. This lady who I met, her name is Keo, and Keo just got a pro card last year's at the North Americans and made her pro debut, and they both were there. Shout out to Jolene. She's a great person too.
Shout out to Jolene.
This weekend, Sharonica Hitton, she's competing. She's in Tampa. I hope I met Sharonica when I was in Tampa. She's a beautiful lady. I think she's the epitome of WPD. I honestly I hope she does get a pro or Olympic qualification, because she's an amazing person.
I think she will. I think this is her year.
Yeah. Also, I can't forget lady who I got to meet was there. I look like a big old bear hugging on a little baby. That's Ashley Jones. She gave me a shout out on my channel. Shout out to my man Amazing. Alex, my nephew Alex. He was in Olympia that year. She got second place, and he just gathered to give a shout out for me. And and again, I remember when I was with Eunice, I got to see this gentleman, Mr. David Lee Roth. I would never met this man in my life if I didn't go to Tampa and have to use it. But the one person for me, the one person for me that really is I can't help it when I talk about her, and that is Andrea Shaw. I mean, she's just, oh my God, she's just so beautiful. She just she got the box. I want to go a couple rounds with Andrea, but I need to do a lot of sense of holding. But this goes back to, I always want to give shout out to my friend Eunice. And I know, as my other guy says this, he says, if you get something, Sibel, never do it for free. And this for me, I call it my payment. When Eunice was at the Olympic back in 2023, when you have it in Orlando, and she ran into Andrea, and she got this issue of muscle development. It was like a little bit, I think maybe a few days after my birthday. It's just, she said, hey, something comes in the mail. It's a late birthday gift. I say, what is it? Well, you see it when you get it. And when I got it, I was so excited because it's so beautiful. What makes it so special is